welcome to episode 9 of the Mom Game, almost to double digits. Julie, Here we are.
I know. We got to have some big plans for show 10.
Yeah, big plans for show 10. So I have a different little bit of a different backdrop. So
you do. Tell us about it. It's not a Zoom background. It's not a green screen.
It is not a green screen. This is actual outside landscape.
Yes.
So my family and I made the decision that we were going to drive to Virginia, 17 hours, to stay with family here. They live in the middle of nowhere, Virginia. And so, we didn't travel by plane. We traveled by car. We went straight through. We didn't stay in any hotels. We felt like it was a smart decision for us, that we were still able to be safe and not, break any rules or endanger anyone. But we thought this would be a good time for us to kind of get away. It's just me and the kids. My sweet sister, bless their hearts, my sister, my niece, and my nephew drove like 8 hours one way to meet us. So where I didn't have to do the whole 17 by myself because I was afraid I might fall asleep driving or something. So my kids are still little and they can't be responsible for keeping mommy awake.
Was it just you? Did Mike not go?
So no, Mike has to work.
Oh my gosh, I didn't. Okay, it's just you and the kids Mike's driving that whole time.
Mike's a mortgage banker, so he's still working pretty consistently.
Right.
Yeah. So we left at 3:30 on Monday morning and got to Virginia at 9:00 p.m., 10:00 Eastern time. So
okay.
Yeah.
You made it.
We made it. It was a long drive, but like I said, we just thought this would be a good opportunity for us to kind of get away and, still stay relatively, isolated from large gatherings of people and mass populations. Cause like you can see, we're in the middle of kind of nowhere. So yeah, that's where we are in Virginia.
Well, it looks awesome there. I think a lot of people are kind of doing that same thing. If you have a place, we have a ranch in Texas. We'll probably go like maybe the end of next week for Mother's Day. Maybe finally see my mom for the first time in like a month and a half. So awesome. I'm glad you did that here in Texas. I'm sure you heard yesterday, Governor Abbott's announcement that he's going to start reopening things here in Texas. So I'm personally excited, and it's not going to be like, crazy. Everybody go out and drink and go to restaurants and go shopping. But a little bit, I think, is good for everybody right now, just to kind of ease into it. Something that also made me happy is for our friends at Cowden Cosmetic Dentistry, because now they can reopen their practice. And there's probably a lot of people listening like me who are like, oh God, when is the last time I had a dentist appointment? Like, has it been a year? Or maybe you really needed one this whole time and you've just been anxiously waiting. Well, now Cowden Cosmetic Dentistry can help you, because like I said, Texas is starting to open back up. So they're starting to open back up. And Dr. Anna Cowden, who is a precious mom of 2 that we know, she and her staff can handle all of your dental needs, not just emergencies. So whatever it is, make sure and give them a call. If you've put off your exams or your cleanings, they can handle cosmetic dental needs as well. If you need to get those teeth whitened because you've been drinking too much red wine while quarantined, like me. So I know I want to do that. I'm going to be going in there soon. So no matter what you need, they'll help take care of you. And they also want you to know that they're still being very safe, following the guidelines to make sure that you're comfortable, you're safe, and their staff is safe. Call Cowden Cosmetic Dentistry today. They're 972-380-6223, or just shoot them an email at info@cowdencosmeticdentistry.com. The name of the show is obviously The Mom Game, but this is not just for moms. We've talked to a couple of professional athletes. Now we have a radio Hall of Famer with us, somebody that we are both very lucky to call a friend, Mike Rhyner. Welcome. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Glad to be here. Thank you for having me. I think I'm a nice fit on The Mom Game, because there are plenty of people out there that would tell you that I'm a real mother too.
Okay. A real mother too? Do you want to expand upon that?
I think I know exactly what he's trying
Emily
to
knows
say.
where this is going.
I think I know exactly what he's trying to say. Come on,
clicked.
Julie.
It clicked.
Get your mind in the gutter. Get your mind in the
Mother
gutter.
also, I guess I should say.
I would never say that about you, by the way.
Mike,
you're in the minority. Plenty would.
So I'm sure you've been asked 100,000 times, but we'll start with the obvious and then we'll get to the not so obvious as we go along in the interview. But what has retirement been like for you? Is it strange timing with this whole COVID-19 thing? Do you think that's helped or hurt things? Where's your headspace, Mike Rhyner?
My headspace is generally pretty good. Now, COVID-19, yes, that did throw it for a loop. Prior to that, I was doing surprisingly okay with it. I was really worried for a while that, 3 or 4 days in, I was just going to be roaming around the house going, oh man, what have I done? But none of that happened. I was able to find ways to while away the hours and find plenty of things to keep me occupied, and I didn't miss it at all.
Yeah.
And I was doing fine because I could, go about and do whatever I wanted, whenever I wanted, wherever I wanted, like everybody else could until all this hit. Now, yeah, for me and for everybody else, that's changed things considerably. I'm sure you've got your own stories to tell about that.
For sure. What are some of the things that you've found to pass the time while you're staying in your abode? Are you like a puzzle guy, or are you just watching a lot of TV? How are you passing the time?
Well, I rewatched The Wire, the HBO original series The Wire, from start to finish. And that's something I'd never done before. I never rewatched any of those great television series that had come along. But I did it. I'm in the process of doing the same with Better Call Saul.
Yep.
Reading a good bit and just doing stuff like that. Just doing stuff that I like to do.
Yeah.
So, I want a couple standard questions I have to ask you because you are a radio legend and you recently said goodbye. After how many years was it at the ticket?
26.
Since it started, 26
26.
years. When you look back at that time, because I know a lot in covering professional athletes, they all say when they're playing, like, it's no time to look back, no time to ponder what's been the greatest moment, no time to ponder the statistics and the accomplishments, all that kind of stuff. But once they do hit retirement, they're able to reflect on those. So for you, when you look back at a 26-year career, well, a longer career, but 26 years at that station and building it and really transforming, radio in this town and across the country, what are you able to most look back on and say, damn, you know what? That is really effing cool that I did that. What is that?
I don't know, probably just the whole thing. I haven't been able to go terribly micro on too much of it yet and come up with singular events. There are, certain mileposts where I look back along the way and think that, okay, that was when I felt like we were really established. It's when I felt like we were really on our way. I remember the very first day there, and within about a half an hour after we hit the air, I was pretty convinced that if we didn't do something to screw it up, and that was a big if at the time, if we, and when I say we, I mean the internal part of it, the internal functioning of it, if we didn't screw it up ourselves, then we were really onto something, and we had something here that had a really good chance to work. But I don't know, just really right now what I look at is the whole thing about just the totality, I guess, of what we did. And yeah, it's awesome. And it's awesome. And for the first time, I'm allowing myself a few moments to look back and say, you really did something here.
Good for you, as you should.
And I know it was a struggle for you to come to that decision and then B, make that announcement. So now that you've had a couple of months just to kind of look back on it, like you said, just kind of begin that new chapter of your life without all of those restrictions of going into the office every day, doing this, doing that, and being kind of chained to something. Are you still feeling like, yes, this is it. This is what I needed in my life and I made the right decision?
Yes.
Are you still feeling that way?
I am. I'm still feeling that way for sure.
That's got to be really comforting for you just to know.
It is, and I'll be very glad when all this gets over with and we can go back to life as we all knew it, and I can go back to life as I knew it and get the band playing again and just do the things I would normally do because I was well on my way to that at the time. And I still have that vibe though, for sure. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
So
that's good.
I'm partial to this piece of work that you did, but I think one of my favorite things was when you voiced the open for the final game at Globe Life Park in Arlington for that final game on Fox Sports Southwest, and it was your voice on that open. Wait, what was it? Opening day or was it?
It was both.
It was both.
Yeah,
okay,
it was opening
he
day.
He bookended it.
Yeah, it was opening day. Yeah, I did bookend it.
Okay. I just remember like hearing your voice and thinking there, because what they did was they didn't tell us who was doing it, and they just dropped it on us in a meeting. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is perfect. Your voice was perfect. I thought this was the perfect fit for that project. How did that come about, and how much fun was that for you?
Well, the way it came about is Kat told me that the guys over at Fox Sports Southwest wanted me to do it, and I got on the phone with Jason, and we talked about it, and he said, just write something, go in there and voice it, and send it to me, and let's see what you got. So I did. It took about, I don't know, probably all of 5 to 10 minutes to write, and I laid it down on my phone. I sent it to him. And he said, okay, when next time you go in the studio, let's lay it down and we'll do it. We'll roll with it.
And that's what I love. I love that you wrote it. Those were your words. It wasn't a script that someone handed you and asked you to voice. Those were your words because, and again, I'm partial because the Rangers are my team, because you love my little team, even though you say this team sucks sometimes, because sometimes they do.
I say that about all of them, though.
I know. But where did that love affair with this team come from?
Excuse me. Gosh, sorry. I'm a baseball guy through and through, first and foremost. And that was the game that got me into sports to begin with, because at that time it was bigger than football, if you can imagine. It was bigger than basketball. Basketball was a very low-level blip on the radar around here. And when you were growing up around here, you had baseball, which was on TV on the weekends. You had some football, mostly college, but that was pretty much the sporting landscape at the time. And everybody was into baseball. Baseball was the biggest part of the sports fabric at the time. And it was only natural that I should fall in love with baseball, and even though I love the others too, I never fell out of love with baseball. And the others never really have overtaken baseball, even though like I say, I do love them both.
And just to go back to radio real quick, and then we can maybe talk about family life and that kind of thing, since it is the mom game.
It is the mom game.
It is the mom game. But just to go back to radio life real quick, I'm just wondering your opinion of where things stand, you think, for the radio industry right now, having been somebody who's such a big player in the radio industry, especially here in Dallas. You've seen its evolution. You've seen the evolution of the ticket, but just the radio industry in general, outside of this weird pandemic situation, where do you see the radio industry kind of being at this point and maybe going? And should I stay in it? What am I doing with my life? I need some advice, Mike.
That's a rather roundabout way of getting to where you really want to go.
Sure was.
Well played, Julie.
It's a bit of a mess right now.
Yeah.
It's very chaotic, and I would love to offer encouragement and love to be able to tell you that I think it's going to get better, but you want the truth, don't you?
I do.
Get out.
I love it.
Fast
I love how honest you are.
As you can, get out. That's what I would tell anybody. I've had a few people that have talked to me about getting into it, and I told them don't.
Yeah.
The game you're getting into and the one I got into are very, very different things, and you know how this is. These things go only one way.
Right. I know. Unless something can completely change, you just wonder how it's going to survive with all of these other ways for people to get their entertainment. And they kind of pushed me out. So right now I am out, but we'll see if it becomes a forever out or not. But in my love affair, I guess, with short-term love affair with radio, it wasn't necessarily radio, it was just the station. It was just the station that you built and the vibe that you created for everybody there, and that kind of feeling, like I'm sure you know so well, when you go into work every day and you laugh and you have fun and it doesn't feel like work. And then you feel like you have real friends out of it. Because I worked in TV for a long time at Fox. That's when I met Emily. And when that ended, the hardest part for me, and maybe this is something that you're dealing with to some extent, the hardest part for me was just losing that sense of community and like all the people I worked with, the teams that I covered, all of that when that ended. That's what I was looking for with the ticket. And I feel like that's what I've found with that group of people. But you have to think about it seriously for your life and your career. So that's why I was just wondering, your thoughts on the whole situation and because a lot of people there hang on because it feels good and you like the way it feels and it's fun. That's kind of what I was doing there.
And all that stuff that you mentioned does matter. That's important stuff for sure. And it meant a lot to me. The thing that I miss the most is the guys and the vibe that we all had together. I miss hanging out with them every day. I miss the road trips. I miss the events. I'm sure that when camp out time comes around, I'll be going crazy listening to that.
Yeah.
But there were, as you know, there are a lot of other things that you have to consider in all this. And all that stuff is going in a very, very bad direction right now. And I just don't see it getting better. And over time, I became convinced that this was the time to get off because of that, and because I just didn't feel like I was going to be very useful up there anymore. I didn't feel like the station was going to be able to play to my strengths, and that I was going to be able to do that thing that I do. And it was just time for me to jump off and see if I could go do it somewhere else, and that's what's going to happen.
Yeah, well, good for you, because that's hard for a lot of people to just say, I don't think this is the right place for me right now, and my life is going to change a lot, but I know that's what's best for me. And you went ahead and did that. So I'm so happy that you're feeling happy about the whole situation, and also happy and thankful for everything that you've done to get the ticket to where it is now, to even let me in just for, if it is a couple years or we'll see, just that little bit of my life has been very enjoyable. So I wanted to personally thank you for that.
Well, I appreciate that, Jules. And those years that time that you spent with us has been a good time. You've definitely brought something. Everybody likes you. Listeners like you. Guys up there like you. And I've really enjoyed our time together when I was there.
Yeah.
You brought a very nice ray of sunshine into the place at a time when it needed it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Definitely needed some estrogen in there.
I know.
Okay, I want to get a little bit personal, Mike, because when I first started listening to the tickets when I moved to Dallas in 2004, and very quickly, and I'm a huge daddy's girl. So my daddy raised my sister and I would always hear you talking about Jordan. I would always hear you talking about your daughter. So I want to know a little, you would reveal certain things on the air, but I want to know more about that relationship, what it was like when you divorced, how the divorce was, and how it affected your relationship with her. I'm just curious as to how that came about and how that strong bond came about and how it has remained that way.
Well, she was off in college when all that happened, when all that came down, and it wasn't any one thing that happened. It's just something that came about over a period of time. It was a very civil separation. We are still quite close. I mean, I know that if I ever needed anything from her, she would be there for me, and vice versa. If she never ever needs anything from me, I'm there for her. And we both remained involved in, keeping Jordan on track and making sure that she's been as okay as she can be through it. That said, it's never easy. It's never easy, and I hate it that we couldn't make it work over the long haul, but it is what it is, to coin the cliche. And what happens, and you pick up and you move on and you do the best with it that you can. And that's kind of where I'm at and where we're at with it.
So how was your relationship with Jordan when she was young, and how did it evolve as she got older?
Well, we've been very close through it all. It really hasn't changed a whole lot. She's She will tell anybody who asks that she's a daddy's girl. And it's been really neat watching her turn into the person that she's turned into. And I get to see it a lot more because she recently moved back here from California and is going to try and make her way somehow, in something around here. She doesn't know what yet, but I'm just glad to have her back. But our relationship has always been great. It's still great. It always will be great.
That's awesome. On that same note, just kind of looking back now that you have retired from the job that you had for so long, something we talk about here on the Mom Game is just the work-life balance and trying to figure out how to do a good job at your job, but also spend time with your kids, all of that. I know my husband travels for a living, and he's away from the kids a lot too. So just looking back, I'm wondering what kind of advice maybe you have for somebody who has young kids that's trying to figure out their career. Now that you've done it and you can look back and you have a grown daughter, what would you say to those people? Do you think you handled it right or wrong? Just kind of, what's your take on all of that?
No, I didn't handle it right. I let work take over way too much of it. And that's one thing that I regret. And I would tell anybody who's going through that right now, don't let work take over. Pay attention to it. If there's anything to enjoy about your job, do it. I think that's what did me in, because the job was so much fun. There was so much to enjoy that I kind of got swallowed up in that a little bit. But enjoy it, but keep it in its place. Remember what it is. It's your job. Nothing more, nothing less. Mm-hmm. And take what there is to take out of it. Get what there is to get out of it. Enjoy what there is to enjoy out of it. And then when it's time to put it down and move on into something else, do that.
Mm-hmm.
So for you, I feel like a lot of people get divorced after the kids go off to college. Do you think that is because they don't want to subject the kids to that when they're still in the home? Or do you think that it's a byproduct of, holy shit, she's gone and now it's just the two of us and we don't really dig each other that much anymore? I mean, where's this? Because it's not uncommon.
It's not uncommon, and I think it's a good amount of both of those things. As far as if it's one more than the other, that's probably going to vary from case to case. But I think those are probably the two most overriding factors in that scenario. You know, and
yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah, it makes, believe me, it makes all the sense in the world. You don't know how much sense it makes, but but it's something that everybody has to deal with. Everybody has to work out for themselves. You try to hang on to it as long as you can, but eventually, a lot of people reach a point where you see that it's just not going to work, and it's either your sanity or your marriage. And that's kind of what it came down to for me. I'm not proud of that.
Okay, so what was after all was said and done? Jordan's okay, everything's okay, and it's time for Mike Rhyner to get back on the dating scene. What was that like?
Let's talk dating.
I mean, this is just me being presumptive, but I would assume that you kind of ran the gamut of demographics as far as dates were concerned. Is that being a little too presumptuous on
demographics?
Or did I hit the nail on that head?
You could say that. You could say that. It's been a little different than I perhaps thought it would be. I don't know if that's necessarily good or bad or whatever, but you're asking what it is, so that's what it is.
Yeah. But has it been fun? I mean, are you with woman at this point in time?
No,
I mean, give us the scoop.
I'm not really with woman right now.
I love you, Emily.
Boy.
I asked him, I said, is anything off limits? And he said, I don't have anything to hide.
No,
That's true.
I didn't. I told her.
You think I'm going to miss this opportunity?
I told her this was all fair game. And
fair game on the Mom Game.
Yes, I realized that I left myself wide open for this. So I'm down with it.
Okay, good. Let's get down on it then.
But
so has there been now I'm like really interested, and I've had it's like I've had a glass of wine. So, I mean, like,
just let it go.
is it blind dates? Are people setting you up? Are you on the apps? Like, are you on Tinder, or are you swiping? What's happening?
No, I'm not swiping. I'm not on Tinder. I wouldn't know Tinder if somebody were to bring it in here and say, here it is, do something on it. I wouldn't know what to do. I wouldn't know how to put together a profile or anything like that. I don't know. I guess I'm in a place of letting the game come to me.
Yeah.
You know, I'm in a situation where I meet my fair share of nice ladies in the course of events, and if one strikes my fancy as someone I might like to get to know a little bit better, then we go down that road, see how far we get.
Because I'm not gonna. Oh, go ahead.
Sorry.
Go ahead, Julie.
I was gonna say,
so eager now.
I know, me too. I was gonna say, has the lack of live performances hit that? Has it made it tougher on you?
So,
because girls
excellent
love a
question.
good musician.
So you're asking, do I go to gigs and pull a lot of women out of that?
Kind of.
No, not really. That's not the place for it, because, you know, there I have to be, I'm either up there gigging or dealing with something pertinent to the gig, or after it's over, I have to go out and be a man of the people and shake hands, and, you know, maybe somebody wants a picture or something like that, do that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So it doesn't really lend itself terribly well to anything like that. So
Well, that's
no,
good.
it probably is very unlikely to happen there. Now, if they want to run me down somewhere after a gig, or, you know, in the subsequent days on, you know, Twitter or Facebook or something, then
Oh.
that's a little different animal.
Right.
Those
yeah.
those DMs stay open.
Yeah, DMs are open. Nobody's blocked.
As they should be.
Nobody's blocked.
So I'm not. So I seriously have thought about this on a number of occasions, and don't kill me. So my mom is smoking hot, and
Oh gosh, are you setting them up?
Listen, but she's 72, and I kept thinking I bet Rhyner likes the younger ladies. And so I'm not trying to set you up right now, but I do want to know, like, what's your type? Like, everyone has a type. Don't say I'm open to whatever. Like, we all have a type. Like, I'm not saying that's the only people you would ever like or date or go out with or whatever, but what is, like, what in your mind, like, you know, short, tall, blonde, brunette, black, white, young, old, funny, stupid, I don't know, whatever.
Yeah, we get it. Yeah.
All of it. Give me like a characteristics.
Let's eliminate a couple of those categories that you ran down.
Okay.
Not stupid.
Okay.
I kind of generally lean toward tall.
Okay.
The tall woman is something I'm a little bit partial to.
Okay.
But beyond that, we're wide open. We'll consider anything, anyone.
What
Okay,
about
so no
teeth?
age restrictions?
No age restrictions.
Okay.
My question was, what about teeth? Like, I know you have a stance on teeth. You don't want them too big.
All right, that's a bit. That's a bit. I have no stance
That's
on
a
teeth.
bit.
Yeah.
Okay. Just wondering.
That's just me trying to get a rise out of Corby.
We're dispelling that rumor right now.
Yeah.
He does not
Yeah.
discriminate against
No, you
any
can be toothy. I
size
don't
of
care.
teeth.
Toothy.
Yeah, it's all good.
Don't discriminate.
Yeah, just
Do
so
you ever
just so you got them all. That's what matters more than anything else.
It's important.
So do you want to settle down again? Do you want to be a one-woman man ever again in your life?
Hard to see the marriage thing happening again at this stage of the game for me. But yeah, I could very easily do that if I found the right one.
I like
There
it.
you go.
I like it. Okay, one more thing for me. Being a dad to Jordan, what is it like when is she dating? Does she get serious with guys? How do you feel about that? But, you know, what if she dated a guy you didn't like, tried to marry a guy you didn't like? I mean, there are a lot of things to consider, especially when you're the father of a baby girl, especially when you have the relationship that you guys do. So what are those conversations you're having with her and yourself now as she is a grown woman?
The conversation I'm having with myself is I've got to learn to let the game come to me. I've got to learn to let her make her own decisions. Now, I haven't always liked the decisions she's made. There have been a few guys that she's dated along the way where I just didn't think they were up to what I had in mind for her. There have been a few that I thought were nice guys and were good guys, but she was not terribly interested in them. And there was one who was just absolutely awful.
How'd that go over with you? Did you have to tell her or scare him off?
Oh, believe me, she knew what I thought. She knew what I thought.
Yeah. Well, I think as a girl, your dad's approval means a lot. So if my dad felt terrible about somebody that I was dating, I think that'd be a instant red flag. And you got to go with what your dad feels.
Well, but I will say this, as far as letting the game come to you, Rhyner, it's a smart thing. My dad, I dated a guy for 4 years. He sucked. But for some reason, I was attracted to him. He was like a project. I thought I could fix him and like make him a better person. And then I'd get all these accolades because I made this guy so great, which don't ask me where that came from, but whatever. Dated him for 4 years. He treated me like shit. And then I finally was like, at some point, I guess, had an epiphany, woke up and was like, I'm done. So I broke up with him. I remember having the conversation with my dad, and I was like, God, I mean, he was terrible. He was like, yeah, no kidding. And I was like, why didn't you tell me? Like, I would have listened to you. He's like, why? I wanted you to figure it out. It's not going to do me any good to tell you what I think. You have to figure it out for yourself. Because if I would have tried to make you do something, you would have likely gone in the other direction. Then that would have caused a rift between us. And then he's like, you, those are things you have to figure out for yourself. And I appreciated the hell out of that. At a young stage in my life, to where, you know, he just kind of stayed back and let me figure that out on my own, that he trusted me enough, you know, to not screw up the whole thing and go marry this idiot.
That's probably very well played on his part.
Yeah.
He probably handled that absolutely perfectly. I didn't with this one that Jordan was involved with, and she was involved with him for some time, and I was around him like once. And I can't tell you what bad vibes I got from the guy. Yet she, for whatever reason, just could not get out of it, could not end it, would not end it, whatever the case may be. But now I believe she has. I think, I hope. She tells me she has.
Let's hope so. Fingers crossed.
That's what I have to go on, and I think she's gotten over that now, and I know she's meeting a lot of guys here already. So
yeah,
I hope something good works out there. I hope something good comes of this.
I bet something good will come for her, and now maybe something good will come for you now that you have your dating profile out there on our podcast. I think
I knew there was going to be something good to come from the mom game.
For sure. And just one more thing, you know, we have him. We should just talk to him for a little bit longer. Why not? Now that you've got that giant chunk of your career out of the way and you feel, I'm sure, fulfilled with what you've done, you've probably been asked, but what are your plans, whether it's work-wise or not? You know, just how do you plan to spend your time? What's going to make you happy now at this stage of life? What are you going to be doing?
Whatever it is that makes me happy.
That's awesome.
Foremost. Work-wise, like I said in the video, the fabled video, if I found something that sounds like it's going to be fun, then I would look at it. And if not, then that's okay too. And that's kind of where I'm at. You know, maybe something, maybe nothing. We'll see.
Yeah.
Well, you can be a regular guest on the mom game.
I'd love to be a regular guest.
Come back
anytime you want.
Emily promises not to grill you as much.
No, I don't. No, I don't.
No, hey, I can handle it.
I know you can.
Emily's a pro. Emily's big time, and I can hang with that.
Oh, you can.
But I do think the moral of the story is to let the game. I think it's a valuable lesson to let the game come to you. It applies to so many aspects of life: the dating game, the parenting game, you know, the work game. To let the game come to you. I think that's a good moral that we learned from the old gray wolf today.
I'll tell you this.
Yeah,
I didn't start getting anywhere with anything until I learned that. And one thing that I promised myself when the ticket started, and this is before it went on the air, and I was thinking about, okay, what's this actually going to be like? And then that thought went around, okay, what are you going to do? How's this going to be for you? I mean, how are you going to act in all this? And I decided right then, right there, that this time I was going to do this my way. I was going to do it the way I wanted. And if I couldn't do it, or if something got in the way of that, then I was going to walk away from it. And I've always been ready to walk away from it, but I made it 26 years and nothing ever did. And I'm lucky.
Whoops. I banged the table trying to cheers you.
It's just a computer, Emily. He can't actually cheers you.
Well, cheers.
Cheers
To you.
That's
Cheers
awesome
to
that you
Mike
could
Rhyner.
that you could go through your career that way and now hopefully live your life that way. Just do what makes you happy. I think that's what we're all trying to do. And there's a certain period of time where you got to do what makes you happy, but also find a way to pay the bills, right?
Right.
So it's just finding that happy medium, also trying to find a way to spend time with your kids, that kind of thing. And we're all just working towards that. I always say it's like puzzle pieces, putting the puzzle pieces of life together to where it works out, to where you can pay your bills and you're happy. So I'm glad that you're happy and you're going to live your life that way too. I'm going to take that advice.
Well, make no mistake. In my case, there was a whole lot of sheer fortuity in there. I mean, if you go back through the real inner workings and details of the story of how all of this came together and get beyond what's already out there, your mind will be boggled just at how much right place, right time for me and for really a lot of the others too. That there was in the way it all came together. I mean, it's really an even more amazing story than anybody knows about, and I don't know, maybe one day that story will get told.
I like it.
Well, you can tell it here anytime you want, Mike. Anytime you want.
Yep, we record on Tuesdays. You're welcome anytime you want to get out of the house.
Find us.
You know where to find us. It's been so awesome seeing you and seeing you happy. We're so glad that you joined
Jules,
us.
it is great to see you. I miss you.
Thank you. I miss
Emily,
you too a lot.
I miss you. Emily.
We all do.
Yeah, we do.
Miss you too, Mike.
Miss you, and of course, we both know what you should be doing with yourself right about now.
I do.
Yeah.
And that is not being in Virginia or North Carolina or wherever you are.
Virginia. It's not.
No, it's not. You should
Not.
be.
I should be headed to Boston.
Yes, you should be headed to Boston for a big
To Fenway.
weekend series with the Bo Sox. But
I know it.
maybe
Hopefully
down the
soon
road.
enough.
Maybe down the road.
Maybe down the road. Well, you're the best for joining us. We appreciate you. I will virtually cheers you.
Me too.
Hopefully we can do it in person soon.
Love you both. Thank you for having
Love
me.
you
Love you
back. Thank you so much.
Bye
See you
bye.
later.